Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast, this time on Tuesdays. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto, and joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus. Hacha!
Lenore.
Oh, I hope the reboot has I can't remember his name. Bill in shape with like a hair plugs and a hot wife that nobody can understand how he got. Like that needs to be his whole shtick.
Or what you call it is like son is now also a healer now. Sean Redcord's son.
I'm sorry. Do you mean Dale's son? Psh, they look
Oh
just like
yeah.
each other. I know what I am, Dad. I'm an alien. It's the only explanation for it.
Cause Dale found out, right? Yeah.
No, you didn't find out. But they were doing the whole shtick where Dale was with Hank, and Hank knows, and they were afraid that he was going to out himself to Dale in front of everybody. That was the episode where he and Bobby run off to the desert to like an
Yeah.
alien con or something like that. Although that should be the basis of the reboot. Like Dale has to deal with Nancy's tete-a-tete with John Redcorn. Although I will say the most wholesome moment in the entire show is Dale realizing that hot bug lady has a thing for him, and he leaves her, and he goes back home to watch Sanford and Son or something like that, and he goes, did you know that woman had the hots for me? He's completely shocked by it. Ugh, I love it. Such a great show. Hank of the Hill, King of the Hill. One of those is right. You know what's not a great show? Fucking Royal Rumble. Marcus, why the fuck did I think that was gonna be good?
Because it's a lot of opportunity for random surprises that could turn out to be pleasant surprises, but we didn't really get a lot of surprises on the show.
So we were told, or people suspected, that we'd get Jay White, that we'd get Nick Aldis, that AJ Styles would come back, that AJ Styles wasn't in the Rumble this year, was he? I don't think he was.
No, he's out with a didn't he break his ankle or something?
Broke his ankle, aka on vacation. What else did people say? Great Muda. Somebody said, I think the Great Muda is going to show up. No, that's silly. And like everyone, like the women's rumble had some NXT call ups that weren't really call ups, but like that was all right. Michelle McCool was a terrible fucking selection, but like whatever. But like the thing that really irked me was the only surprise was Booker T, and he moved so terribly that it really kind of like made me sad. And I'm sure he loves his very long locks, but when your hair is past your ass, it's
Yeah,
it's
but
time to rethink your life.
yeah.
Like when you have to carry around your hair like a supervillain carries around their pet,
Well, you have to put your hair up in a bun of shit. It's a different area.
right? Like if you have to stroke your hair like Doctor Evil and his cat Mister Migglesworth or whatever his name was, Pigglesworth. What was it? I feel like you would know.
Bigglesworth.
Bigglesworth. I was close, man. I was real close. I knew it was something worth, something with a double G. So like when that's your hair, it is unobtainable. Like if he was doing it just to grow his hair out and then like donate it, great. He's not. I miss his high top fade so damn much, but you can also tell he's balding so hard that I feel like if someone yanked his braids too hard, he'd lose half his hair.
Oh yeah, he's at that age where he keeps it like that because it's like that.
How much money do you think he spends a week conditioning and keeping his hair clean? Because like
I
keeping
always think about that.
keeping dreads
Locks, yeah,
clean is not a cheap endeavor. You can't just
clean,
use soap.
clean. I could imagine all the smells, like secondhand smoke and stuff. Um, or if you're walking and it gets caught in something, like that's a lot. Like that has to be a whole other thing, like almost to the point where it's like for women, like that's a whole thing, particularly in that company because of how much they get the makeup and stuff. But that's a whole like it's interesting with Bianca because essentially she just kind of puts on the braid for work.
Yeah, like that can't be real. Like that has to be like a clip on or something, or she sews it in.
Up to that degree, but she got that thing locked in. I tell you that. But with him, yeah, because I always imagine that like when I see people with that, because I'm like that upkeep has to be crazy because I've seen people like have bad upkeep with just regular braids. You know what I'm saying? Like they,
Mm-hmm.
so it has to be a whole different thing. But God bless him. But yeah, to your point about his performance, he's at that point now where because he's Booker T, he'll sloppily do something and then immediately go into his Booker T theatrics to play it off.
And that's what he did.
It's like,
It wasn't great. Oh, we had another surprise. It was Logan Paul. He did have
yeah,
a great spot with Ricochet, where I'm
yeah.
pretty sure they cracked all of their ribs.
Yeah, it's not good. And as much as I love this guy, Kofi, these save spots is over. Stop. It's done. You botched it last year. You botched it worse this year, and it's never gonna be a thing where it's gonna be leading to you getting the win. So like, just let it go. It's over. The novelty is dead on.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It, it would be one thing if they were doing it to build up a win for him, but just to keep
Yeah,
doing it is dumb. That was another one that people were saying was Big E, and I'm like, no, like Xavier Woods just said Big E's gonna be going to see a doctor in 3 weeks. Like, no.
I think they so used to the whole. Ed said he wasn't even in the city that they just think everything's a work now.
You're
So
not
yeah.
wrong.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, no, he got like legitimate neck wearation issues. Like at this point, like they're talking about quality of his regular life, not work life. Like
We just want Big E to be able to do like a neck bridge at this point,
exactly.
right?
It-
Like
yeah.
bumping? Are you kidding? Ugh.
Particularly with some of these people on the roster.
Speaking of some of these people, let's talk about one. Brock Lesnar. So this gigantic ass Viking cornhusker comes out. And he's wrecking fools, and then Bobby Lashley comes out and he eliminates Lesnar, and we're clearly getting Lashley Lesnar either at Elimination Chamber or WrestleMania. I'm hoping WrestleMania because like that'd be great, but also I need Lesnar to do more than 5 minutes of work because like you knew the minute you saw Lesnar, he was only gonna be in there for like 3 minutes. And I need him to do longer for Lashley, like, because you know Lashley's gonna give up the win for that one, because Lesnar's gonna get his win back. But like, I need a 10-minute match. Like, I need an 8-minute match. I need something longer than
Yeah, man.
what they did last time.
That final four could have been Cody, Gunther, Lesnar, and somebody. I would have said like throw Lashley in there, but the minute he touched the ring, it was gonna be him and Lesnar all day. But if he had got eliminated or something happened to the effect we couldn't get to him, like having because the thing about what they did with Cody, which was bad, like
Have him
having him
win.
come out at 30 and then sell the narrative he outlasted 29 other men. It's not real. He came out and had a match with Gunther who actually outlasted 29 other men.
Gunther, you are the man. I don't know what the man is in German, but das Mann, das Moon, das Boot. So what I would have done is I would have had Lesnar and Lashley come out at whatever point in the Rumble, and then just start brawling. But then like
Yeah,
have people like interject and do the spots, and have Lashley, maybe peter out to the outside, or have Lesnar get dumped out to the outside, and then like 5 minutes later they get back in the ring and they start throwing people out, and then they realize that they're the last two guys in the ring, or at least the last two guys standing, and then they go back at it again until somebody else comes in. And then you do it 3 or 4 times until you finally get to the final four, where like everyone's kind of like circling each other, and then like let's just say it's Gunther and Cody, Lashley and Lesnar, and Gunther and Cody just kind of look at each other and like they both get out of the ring and they're like, we're not getting involved in this. And then Lashley and Lesnar go back at it until one of them gets chucked over the top rope, and then Gunther could throw the other dude out. Like that. That's how I would have done Lashley
Oh,
Lesnar, but that would have involved Lesnar actually, spending more than
I
eight
would
minutes
have
in the
did
ring.
something. I would have did something really crazy. I would have had because we wasn't like we could have not known that he was in the Rumble. Um, but then it could have been a thing like he'll jump because at this point I feel like he just because Lashley beat him and that was the last time we saw him. So he comes back. He just got this hard on to kill Lashley. So Lashley comes out at whatever number, and then Lesnar just jumps him out of the audience. And he's beating on him however long, but he's beating him out in his cowboy outfit. And then you take what they did with the women and do it with Brock. So when the next thing goes, his music hits. And he just turns around, looks at the ring, and smiles. And everybody goes, oh, shit. And then he goes in and does his Lesnar thing. And then, like you said, actually lasts for how, however long. But, you know, with what he did, Lashley never actually got in the ring. So he could come back and eliminate Brock at the end, which would leave Gunther and Cody, and then you could do the finish that they did.
I love that idea. I also love the idea of doing all that, but like, what if we gave like the wrestlers a ticket? Like, you had to give the ticket to the ref to get into the Rumble, and then like you have like the Miz or Baron Corbin or whoever. He's got his magic ticket, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm about to go into the Rumble." Then like Lesnar snatches his hand in the audience and like yanks him into the audience and takes his ticket, and then like takes his spot.
That would have been a perfect thing to do to Corbin. I like that out there, yeah.
You know what would have been a perfect thing for Corbin? Getting fired. Let's talk about getting fired because people need to get fired for this Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. I think everyone needs to get fired. Bray Wyatt, WWE, Mountain Dew. Because how you gonna do LA Knight like that? Like we knew he was gonna lose. Like we all knew that. But to lose in 5 minutes in a glorified squash
Shut
match,
up.
where fucking dusty ass Howdy jumps off the top of a scaffolding and completely yeets over everyone. Worse than Jericho at that one show with the thing with the platform and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, it was terrible. It was all fucking terrible. And I don't know why people still think Bray Wyatt is a good character, a good mind for wrestling, or a good anything, because he's fucking atrocious. He's the fucking worst.
He's like the stripper at the strip club with the least amount of assets, but he do a lot of tricks.
Yeah, that's
So he
true.
so he's deemed like, no, that's the best one. Like, no, she does everything because she's built like a 12-year-old, and all these other chicks look like Nikita Lyons.
Uh,
Because in that parallel, Chad's been talking about this guy being a crap worker for years now. But he gives you the pomp and he gives you the circumstance and the aesthetics and the music and the fog and the lamps and the, oh my God, he put on another mask.
another mask, man. Another mask. He's Uncle Duty Howdy now.
But wait a minute, Uncle Howdy's there, and who the hell is Uncle Howdy?
So let's also talk about this. Pat McAfee has quickly become the worst thing on WWE television.
Yeah, he wasn't good that night. I think the only person that got off to him was Cole, and that's
Cole glad handed him and like spoon fed him everything, and McAfee still couldn't do a damn thing. It's one thing to need to take time off because you got other interests. Like I'm always been fine with that. But to not keep up with the product and to do so little research where you're actually asking people on air what is going on with a storyline that you should already know at pivotal moments of the angle isn't just Bush League. It is pathetic. I could not stand the fact that this dude is sitting here making six figures a year calling commentary for a product he knows nothing about. Like this motherfucker looked at Uncle
and
Howdy and goes, "Hey, who the hell is that?"
and to your point, what makes it even worse, this ain't like what they was like some of the best threaded storylines back in Lucha Underground days, where Katrina was by the side of Quet Matanza, not
Mm-hmm.
Matanza. You know what I
Mil
mean?
Morte.
Mil Mortez. But then sidelining with Phoenix. What it looked like to get a soul or something for Mil Mortez who had fallen, but all the time she was trying to get the life for herself. It ain't that complicated.
No.
These ain't like soap opera storylines like people be selling them. He could have went to YouTube and caught up in 10 minutes.
He could have gone to a production meeting, asked a few questions, and been good. Yet here we are, with Pat McAfee being honestly the worst announcer I think I've ever heard, not named Mark Madden. Because like it'll be worse to top Mark Madden. It really will. But Mark Madden was bad because Mark Madden was bad, and he was bad because he was Vince Russo's mouthpiece. So I feel like even though like Mark Madden's like a just an ugly little fuck, I still feel like McAfee's was even more egregious because like, are you gonna really get mad at a rat for doing rat things? Like that's Mark Madden. He's a rat. McAfee is actually very entertaining. He's witty.
Yeah.
He's urbane, and he tried to be witty, but when you realize that he didn't know what he was talking about, he came off as obnoxious. Like this was beneath him, and like
Yeah.
I could not stand to listen to that. Like,
He,
it was truly atrocious.
he he's a lot, but he's a lot when it's contained in the realm of, okay, he got all the pieces to the thing. Now he just kind of got to do him within the realm of that. But because he was lacking the necessary knowledge, he was over McAfee.
Mm-hmm.
And then because and like I said, appreciate for all the stuff you just mentioned, and it really helps that he kind of reignites Cole's enthusiasm and excitement for the product, because at this point Cole's in love with him. I think I think what you call it, Graves could take him or leave him. If he fell off a building, Graves probably wouldn't even acknowledge it on commentary.
I'm sorry.
But
All I heard is Graves fell off a building, and I got weirdly happy.
ah, well, yeah, that created a thing. But because, like you said, he was trying to overcompensate, he was coming off as obnoxious. And it just didn't work. Like I said, the amount of catch up, these storylines ain't deep. The longest thing they got going is the Roman storyline, the Dynasty storyline, and that's not that ain't even that deep. Like talking about it from a certain perspective, but not knowing certain people's names and whatnot, I'm like, they didn't just join the company last week, bro. Like, what are you doing?
And that's the thing that really irked me was like he really put zero effort into it. Speaking of the Reigns and Zanes and whatnot, I didn't watch that because
Mm.
I was like kind of like on my like laying down watching,
And,
and then
and with
Hardy came on, and I was like, ugh, I'm just gonna close my eyes.
Jesus, was I the only one that didn't totally think that was somebody tweeted about? They was like, it's like somebody really went to the dollar store and was like, just give me something that appears like it's Kid Rock.
Did you enjoy Hardy's performance?
You know what it is? I don't hate the song. That's it.
See, like I said, I didn't stay awake to listen to it, so I can't tell you one
But
way or
but
another.
but also, to be fair with you, in the last match, it's Roman and it's Kevin Owens, and it would be Kevin Owens alone. Chance not gonna be in fair.
It wasn't just that; it was also the fact that I had to watch Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. I don't even think I finished the women's rumble. Truth be told.
And it was actually better than the men's, and they had a better finish. Shout out to Oscar with the Connor vibes. Apparently, she probably had the best Rumble entrance of the night. And it kind of almost sucks for the women too, because apparently they was running out of time or something. So like a lot of those women had to like, I don't even think they did the full 90-second waits for the entrance. So yeah.
So I do remember watching the end of it because I remember Liv Morgan like had this like whole dramatic on the apron sequence with Rhea after Asuka got eliminated third to last.
Yeah, because she got missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what was your thought on the main event?
Main event was what it was. I mean, we've seen a lot of. I don't even know if that was the best Reigns Owens match, and in this particular instance, Reigns was far more dominant than I think in their previous outings, which led more to the story than just a one-on-one match. I like the storytelling. of everything. I didn't think they were gonna pull it with Zayn here, but I get why they did it, and it was good. And it was another instance where the way he hit him in the back, it was immediately a flashback to what happened with Rollins when he first betrayed the Shield. The thing Reigns actually took the chair shot the same way, which is impressive. But to me, the thing I liked the most about this was the Jey Uso end of it, because like we talked about it last week, regardless to how much people tout Zayn for, and he's doing a phenomenal job. Um, this all started with Jey.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to be conflicted the way that he is, like even if it's the narrative is geared towards him looking at Sammy like a brother, I think more so than anything, he looks at like this is who I was 2 years ago, and I had to walk it back. And now it's like I feel like he's having like PTSD, and it's a whole thing. So to me, I appreciate that because that I think under Triple H, if nothing else, he's allowed things to come back full circle in a way with a lot of stuff. Like Kevin Owens was selling a lot of old scores, and some other stuff like Rhea's going after Charlotte. I know we're kind of getting ahead, but Rhea's going after Charlotte because Charlotte knocked her off, I think, at a Mania, and I think that's when she took that NXT title off, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to round that back and get some vengeance for that. So I appreciate stuff like that. But I can understand, to your point last week, why you're not completely invested in the thing because it is it is surface to a degree, but this is the longest thing they got going. So
I have been enjoying the Bloodline stuff,
yeah,
but I feel like what we got on Rumble and the last week's SmackDown or the week
yeah.
before, where and on Raw, I feel like they're starting to fall apart in the home stretch because it makes no sense for any of this to kind of be a shocking turn of events. Roman was deliberately pushing him out of the bloodline via Paul Heyman. Like, why would Sammy continue to align himself with somebody who doesn't want him? Like, it didn't make a lot of sense. So like it was obvious he was going to turn heel, and it should have been a situation where um, Reigns completely accepts Sammy. He becomes an Usi or an Us, and they go into this and like he's all like rabble rousing and whatnot. Maybe you get a little creative and have Kevin Owens' wife come and like sit in the front row, and then like have like Reigns or Jimmy Uso grab his Owens' wife, throw her in the ring. When they're beating the shit out of Owens, and like Sammy can beat the shit out of Owens too, like whatever. But then like when he sees them about to do something he's morally conflicted about, that's when he turns heel. I feel like that would have been such a better idea. Like there's only so much he's willing to do to belong, and like there's a limit to it. But they didn't go that route, so I don't know if it's going to be any good going forward. We know that Roman and Cody are going to be wrestling at WrestleMania. Fucking gag me. The Avatar of WrestleMania, produced by James Cameron. I don't care about that match, but we're going to get Sammy and Roman apparently at Elimination Chamber. And the logical thing would be to have Sammy win one of the world titles from Roman, and then have Roman go into WrestleMania to face Cody, while Sammy gets the other title and he can face off with Owens or Jay or Jimmy or Solo or maybe Roman, because they'll have two nights. At
Do
least
you?
I
I
think they're
mean,
going to do two nights. I don't know.
do you think there's ever a plan to actually split them up again?
I would hope so, because you still have two shows. You have two separate shows, and like you're never not going to have the brand split because the networks want their own legitimate reasons to tune into a show. Like they don't want to share talent. So unless they all go on to Fox or all go on to NBC or all go on to Amazon or whatever, I don't see the brand split ending anytime soon. Because like they're apparently going to split up the tag titles again. So I have to imagine they're going to split up the world titles. And I feel like if you have two shows with this much talent, yeah, you should split up the titles. So I don't know. Hopefully, we'll find out. Are you excited about Elimination Chamber or with Rhea and Charlotte? Haven't run into back for WrestleMania. Are you excited about WrestleMania?
Yeah, I'm excited for the chamber. I've always liked the chamber, just the whole concept of it. Even the old school one where it was putting the superstars through hell. It really felt like a goth fight pit almost type of deal. Dungeon deal, but I appreciate the fact that they made the concept safer for the superstars and obviously just really turn it into a big ass toy. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the chamber because those are always fun. I think it's in Montreal, so
Mm-hmm.
they obviously I mean, obviously I think that's why they set it up that way because obviously there ain't gonna be a soul in that building that's not cheering for Sammy on that night. And if they was like "F you Roman" at the Rumble at the end, they definitely it's gonna be a whole different story when they're going to Montreal. So that's gonna be a thing. But to your point, I can see that happening because the whole story with Cody is he wants to win the title that his family never did, and that's technically what the WWE Championship. That's nothing to do with the SmackDown uh, Championship because that's essentially what the blue title is. So they could split it up like that and still get that story out of it. They could also do a thing where Jay could be conflicted, but also because I heard somebody uh, go into this logic, like have Jay be super conflicted over these next few weeks. Um, but then I guess around the Elimination Chamber, maybe change back and choose the family again. And then it ends up being a thing at Mania of Zayn and Owens for the straps, for the tag straps against the Usos. And then
That's
Roman and Cody. Yeah.
that's probably the likeliest path. The only problem is Zayn's done so much to warrant his own WrestleMania main event that I feel like it would be a severe letdown. You know, like Owens hasn't really done much that I would say warrants like a top billing. And then when you look at basically the last 4 or 5 months, Zayn has been beating the shit out of Owens. I like why would Owens now get involved and help Zayn? Like maybe down the road, but I feel like if you're gonna do like the Bloodline WrestleMania match, it's got to be Roman. I don't see how it could be anyone else and have it be the same effect. I feel like here we are again. It's Blue Tista. It's Roman Reigns. It's the same redundancy we get at these rumbles where the wrong guy wins because they're trying to force a storyline that, quite frankly, nobody wants. I don't know anyone who's actually saying, "Oh God, I can't wait to see Cody Rhodes accomplish his family's dream." He already solved racism. He doesn't need the WWE title, folks. So like, I feel like they should have gone with Zayn in that spot instead. But yet, yeah, here we are. They booked themselves into a corner, just like they always do. So that's disappointing. Speaking of disappointing, let's we're done with the Roman stuff. If you're a New Japan fan, you no longer have Kota Ibushi to call upon. Oh no. Kota Ibushi is a free agent, and word has it that he's courting many offers, but also word has it that he's more interested in doing freelance work as opposed to signing another full-time contract like he did with New Japan. Marcus, Kota is now a free agent and can go anywhere. AEW. He can go to any place. AEW. He can wrestle for anyone. AEW. Where do you think AEW Kota Ibushi's gonna go?
Look, man. Um, you've been saying it, man. Wherever Kenny's at.
What? No, I'm shocked. What? I'm shocked. Is there a place you would like to see Kota go that isn't Kenny's backyard?
I like to see him just do the thing where he's hitting up all kinds of promotions doing this thing. I think that would be because he's been able to thrive a lot in New Japan, but obviously certain things happened towards I think the middle or latter part of last year, and then he probably wants a break from all that. And we've seen him over here before for the Cruiserweight Classic and whatnot, but that was a different time, and I think a different obviously Ibushi. So I think a second lap around, kind of doing what we saw with some others, belt collecting, if you will, but not belt collecting in Impact, because we need to be done with loaning titles
Mm-hmm.
um, to non-Impact guys. But yeah, I think he should go and kind of do the circuit, if you will, kind of remind people of just who he is and get a lot of different opponents in, man. But to your point, you know, um, And I don't even know if that's still a thing, but if it is, I would imagine he would want to, kind of go and be close to the Omega.
I could see that. I mean, him being close to Omega kind of just makes all the sense in the world. But on the flip side, like we all think that he's gonna go to wherever Omega is because they have that history. But do we
Yeah,
really know if that's like his driving force? Because you could be friends with somebody, you could be
yeah,
best friends with somebody, you could be a lover with somebody and not want to work in the same company as them. We see it all the time. We see wrestlers, split up, not split up, but like
yeah,
constantly go to different places.
yeah. You're not wrong. Mia Yim, Keith Lee, Thea Trinidad, Black. So yeah.
Yeah. You have Chelsea Green and Matt Cardona. That was another name people thought was going to show up in the Rumble. You got uh, I got no one else. That was it. Chelsea Green, fucking hell. So
Oh, Charlotte and O'Boy. Yeah.
there it is. There it is. So let's talk about real fast. We got the Dango, the Dirty Dango. He's signed with Impact. He popped up first in Bound for Glory in the pre-show, and he did some stuff last set of tapings or the tapings before this current set that hasn't aired yet. But apparently, he's now signed a full-time exclusive deal with the company. I don't think it's a huge addition, so I don't know how to feel about it. But I feel like he could add something if you put him in like a useful tag team or like a trio, like I mentioned to you off air. At least I think it was off air. Ziggy Dice and Johnny Swinger and Dirty Dango as a trio. I think that'd be dope. But like as a singles wrestler, I think Heath has more value. And I don't know if that's a shot at Heath or a sign of faith, but
Yeah, I think it's a nod to he because he's been putting in some work, and
mm-hmm.
I think in a lot of ways, even more so outside of actually needing to be in a tag team around, I really like Heath on his own. Particularly when he was just coming out causing hell for uh Honor No More. But yeah, I really liked his work. But yeah, I'm 100% agreement with you. I don't really see it as a big sign, and I don't, this is, you really up the head of the you really got your head down a rabbit hole if you say this like is a needle moving type of deal. It's not. Obviously he's a talented guy, but like I said, not somebody that pushes any type of needles. Can't really see him going for the world title. Wouldn't care to see him do it. But like you said, if he'll work in something like, particularly if he's still doing some type of rendition of what he did in WWE, him being with Ziggy Dice and Disco, uh, this real I think they could do some really great stuff, comedic stuff. And then that'll just be the second comedic thing to the number one comedian right now in Impact, being your boy, the guy I had to get on the train of, freaking Joe Hendry.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. His name is Edge's bitch. That was that was that
Bruh,
was great.
classic, gold. I'm like, they could run this all year and never get old. Obviously with different opponents throughout, but this is, I mean, brilliant. Like this,
This is what he was doing in Scotland on the Indies with IPW.
yeah.
So like he has a strong grasp on musical orchestry, and so
Oh,
I'm excited to see what else
like
he does.
yeah, I feel like he's to that digital media championship with All Truth was to that 24/7.
Yeah, I mean Joe Hendry's gonna make digital media, so like it makes the most sense. As far as Dirty Dango goes, I look at someone like Johnny Swinger and I think to myself, do you remember how mad I was when he signed a deal? And I'm like, why? But then like 2 weeks later, I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wasn't a huge Fallah Bar fan, and then they paired him with Scarlett in the backstage stuff. I was like, he never has to wrestle again. This is enough. This is enough.
So like if they give him the right stuff, I feel like he could really find himself.
Yeah.
So like I'm not gonna be too rough because like they've done some great work with guys. Like getting Joe Hendry was a stroke of genius. They signed John Gresham. Like those two signings right there,
Hmm.
great. And because they're both great workers. Like Joe Hendry is a near Scottish. Well, he's not near Scottish. He is Scottish, but he's a near Olympic level wrestler for the Scottish wrestling team. So like when you think about that, and you think about Gresham, and they got him on big time long term deals, like that's incredible. And then they got the gun still, and Eddie's around, and like I think a guy like Dirty Dangle may have value, but we have to see what that value can be down the road. I feel like we can't just jump to the conclusion.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's a great signing. I'm just saying that there may be some potential there as a lower mid card act. But speaking of lower mid card acts, New Japan Strong decided that they're going to go full fuck it. So basically, they would film TV shows. They would film, 4 or 5 hours of content every taping and then chop it up into little 42, 46-minute bites for 4 or 5, 6 weeks. And there you go. That's now no longer going to be the situation. Instead, they're going to be doing kind of how MLW does their shows, only with a added layer. MLW records their 10, 12 matches as part of a usually one night, super show. Like Kings of Coliseum or what's the other one? Battle Riot or something like that. And they'll record 4 or 5 weeks worth of shows, but it'll always be centered around one specific title gimmick. And you're seeing Impact do the same thing now. Like they're going to be going to Chicago on 3 different dates, and while only one of those dates is going to be a pay per view, the other 2 dates have their own names as well. So you're seeing more and more of that. The difference here is that New Japan's going to air these super shows that usually would get chopped up into individual 1 hour shows. They're going to air the super shows as a pay per view on Fight. And then the on demand section, they're going to chop them up into like little weekly increments and release them like every week or every other week. And that's going to be available on, I think, New Japan World. So they're doing some different things, but they're really not. Marcus, how do you feel about giving pay-per-view buyers the ability to watch an entire New Japan show early, as opposed to then having to watch it, on New Japan World in 1 hour increments over the course of the next month? Do you feel like this is a platform that could work for them, or do you think this is just silly?
I mean, I think it's an incentive for, I guess, an added incentive for the people, who pay to get a mass amount of content in a short amount of time. Um, who may not necessarily have the time in the week to kind of spread it out like that and kind of have to binge bulk watch, if you will, stuff so they could be good and caught up. But I think the proof of being the pudding, see if this sustains when they do it. Because if it obviously, like I said, it feels like an added incentive to people who actually pay. But if it don't necessarily drive a lot of traffic, then it probably won't have the long term yield that they think it will. So, but I think it's a good idea right now.
It feels like what they've been doing with an added step. So we'll see if it works. I, for one, am not a fan of it only because, what's the point of having New Japan World if I have to, pay separately? And like, here's the thing. Like, let's say I don't know what the price of these monthly shows are going to be. Let's say it's between $20 and $25. That's not bad. So you go and you order Battle in the Valley. I think you got like Okada's on the show. I think it's Jay White versus Okada. I think actually is the main event. I know like Josh Alexander's on the show. They got like a bunch of names on the show, right? So let's say I order that. Now, if I'm a big New Japan Strong fan, I have to wait 4 weeks at least to see the next event. So it really doesn't behoove me, if I'm looking for weekly content, to order the show. On the flip side, if I don't have time to watch 1 4 hour show, once a month, then watching a single 1 hour show every week may be more my speed. But even then, that again takes away the idea or the incentivizing idea of ordering the pay per view and watching it all live. So like they're really kind of putting themselves in a situation. Either do one or the other, but like doing both, I think is going to end up harming them in the long run, or at the very least minimizing how much they can make. But that's a
Yeah.
theory, a wrestling theory.
Yeah, so it's gonna be an added fee on top of the pay-per-view. I
Well,
mean, on
no.
top of
Well,
the subscription fee.
so if you order the pay per view, you're going to watch it live. If you don't want to order the pay per view, because the pay per view is going to air on Fight TV, the streaming service. If you don't want to watch it live, but you have New Japan World, they're going to upload the show in 4 increments across the next month. So Battle in the Valley is coming up. That's going to be the first show they do this under. You can order Battle in the Valley live on Fight TV and watch all 4 hours of it as it airs, as it airs live. Or you can watch Battle in the Valley divided up over 4 weeks on New Japan World in 1 hour increments. So it's basically just like, how do you want to watch it? Do you want to watch it all at once,
Yeah,
or do you want to watch it in 4 parts?
I guess depending on type of fan you are. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not really something that I think stands out, but we'll see. New Japan's, they're goofy sometimes. They are a goofy bunch. So apparently Tony Khan has changed up how he books. When he was talking to Mark Maron on the WTF podcast, Tony Khan talked about how. Where was it? Tony Khan said if fans have noticed more coherent and organized television, there's a good reason for that. Khan revealed that he made a slight change to the way he books his shows. Since Full Gear probably been the most stable run of TV and maybe the best run of TV since the original Revolution, that was probably the last time where I strapped down and said I need to get organized and make some major changes as big as the ones I'll show you. So the stuff you read, I would appreciate it if I'm going to cover the future dates. But if you see just a bit of what's on here, I had a process. I already had a schedule of what I planned week to week in different stories for different wrestlers, for different matches and segments. At some point, I just inverted it. I realized I should tip this chart over, and instead of looking at the dates and building it out, I flipped where the columns were, where the rows were. I put the columns where the rows were, and now organized everything like this since Full Gear, and I feel like I'm more organized, even though it's all the same information. It just looks at it differently, and it helps me. So he I guess Marcus, he rearranged the columns on his spreadsheet. Like that's what he did, and now he thinks it made it more organized. Marcus, have you noticed AEW being more streamlined over the last month?
I mean, it feels a bit more. It does feel more coherent in a way, but there's still a lot of stuff that could be improved in terms of usage of talent, um, and stuff of that nature. Because that seems far. I mean, what he's saying with the coherentness as opposed to what he did, like you said, what sounds like with his Microsoft spreadsheet situation. That don't necessarily line up, but maybe it's more complicated than he actually was able to actually explain. Um, but I have seen a more, I guess, intentionality in terms of making consistency in terms of cohesion. But still different stuff they could be doing with the women. Other guys that could be used. I still think there's more balance that could be done, and they're doing this in a way, but still more balance that could be achieved with the Ring of Honor stuff as opposed to the in conjunction with the regular AEW. So some people may say them kind of pulling back on the Ring of Honor stuff has helped, um, but a lot of times I kind of passively watch the show too, so I guess I can't speak too much on it because like I said, I don't necessarily like everything that's on their roster. So sometimes I'll be like, I don't care about Billy Gunn's sons or some other people. What is it, Roxon Andretti or some whatever. That's some
Action
weird
Andretti.
action Andretti to a point. I think he can go, but there's certain people I just don't care about unless they're tagging with somebody that I actually like and stuff. So. Um,
Marcus, how dare you? How dare you not like the Ass Boys? It's the Ass Boys. That's not our name.
Okay, the anal acolytes. How about that?
Oh, Danhausen, why didn't you think of that one?
Oh man.
So, yeah, I haven't noticed any difference, but that's because I don't watch. Shocker, shocker, I know. So, with that being said, Marcus, any other things you want to touch on before we call it a night?
Oh, that's about it for me. It's nice to see that apparently something that whatever was holding back the Briscoes from getting on TV kind of I guess has been put behind them now.
Well, when you get accused of holding someone back for mistakes he made a decade ago, but you're putting on Dana White's slap fight contest, I feel like you lose the leverage.
I feel like they heard the pod the other week. It was like, no, but to your point, Chad, this was produced and going to always be put out before the slap stuff happened. I'm like, yeah, but putting it out after ain't exactly helping either.
I mean, you're not wrong. I don't know why Vengeance is getting its own NXT special. I feel like that's not one of the stronger OG names, but like, whatever. So, with all that being said, we're done. We'll be back next week, probably Monday, maybe. We'll find out. I was gonna text you Sunday when or Saturday when my plans finalized, but it was like 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'll text him tomorrow because maybe he's asleep. And I forgot to text you, and I was at dinner on Monday, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to text Marcus. So yeah, Mondays may not be a reoccurring date night for me, but it's been for the last couple weeks. So like, we'll see how this plays out. So probably Monday we'll be back. Maybe. It's the most definitive answer I can give you. So with that being said, for Marcus Green, I'm Chad Portal. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. I skipped a bunch of stuff. Check us out on Twitter at NerdCorp, N-E-R-D-C-O-R-P. We're on the website at Real Nerdcorp, R-E-A-L-N-E-R-D-C-O-R-P. We're also on Twitch and YouTube, links of which are probably somewhere. Mark is on Twitter at ParadoxKid, P-A-R-A-D-O-X-K-I-D.
That's me.
You can find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyshow. They cover GLEAT, New Japan, and all other things, I'm sure. But GLEAT's a big one. They like their GLEAT, and I like saying it, GLEAT. You can also find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, C-H-A-D-N-E-R-D-C-R-P, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at C-H-A-D-S-P-H-O-T-O-H-U-T. Once again, the website is realnerdcorp.com. So with all that being said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thank you for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night.